Testing, testing. Alright, we good, we good. I should probably have something like... Ah, shoot. What's going on? Oh, there it is. Okay. I'll probably do something better with this later. Let me see if I got I don't even have everything all set up yet. I'll cut this out from the whatchamacallit while I listen to some smooth jazz. I don't feel like oh, hey Blaze. What's going on? That was quick. That was quick. Oh man, I forgot to put the thing on. The DS4 Windows. How you doing, Blaze? Whatever. I'm pretty sure people in the future will like timestamp it. Me venting out my thoughts. Let's see. Good. Nice, nice. Uh, I finally started reading the manga Beastars after I don't know how many years it's been out. I think I've known about it since 2017 when I first went to Japan. I went to a library and I saw the cover and I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I like the art and whatnot. But during this time, I thought it was cool. But during this time, I was still had my comic Chimera Island up in the background. And one thing about me when I was like younger is that I'm still to this very day. If I see anything remotely similar to what I'm doing, I just avoid it like the plague because I just don't want any obvious comparisons to be made. But as I grew up, and now I'm getting more information about marketing, I learned that it's more of a it's more good than bad. That does more good than bad because that's somebody else putting in most of the work, making an idea, throwing an idea into the cultural zeitgeist. Honestly, but after a couple years have passed and it picked up steam, I noticed a lot of people were talking about it. But the problem with that is, or the problem that I have with a lot of media with anthropomorphic animals, is that it usually talks about the same thing, and that's usually the inequalities of life. Well, being like racism and them being like thinly veiled allegories of racism, or that's where the cultural zeitgeist usually has that idea towards. And I feel like there's not a single good um, story. I don't think there's any good stories that tackles the idea of like using animals and racism pretty well because it you can't really do that with these animal characters because I feel because it's innately a human trait, a human thing, and to compare like one race to like one animal or another, or one race or animal, or just try to compare the two, it just doesn't really make sense because animals, even in nature, they are just not equal, and equality is not really a thing. But and that's was usually the idea of it. Also, the fan base is annoying. If I think a fan base is annoying, then I will avoid it like the plague for like 5 years, and that's just it. I'll avoid it for 5 years, and once I hear less and less people talking about it, I'll just wait until one video would come along and say, "Well, this is good. This is what it's about," and just spoil the entire thing for me. And that's what I kind of notice. I like when things are well. I think that's what I notice for a lot of people. A lot of people don't really care about spoilers, really, because in a way, I remember in the marketing thing, listening to a marketing video, uh, that the reason why people, the reason why for a while, trailers would spoil the movie was because people really don't like surprises. And when I'm unhappy with how a lot of stories with animals usually go, it really, or like just serious stories, I should say, how it really goes, then I just want to be spoiled. I want to be sure that I'm not having my time wasted. And a lot of content on YouTube talking about it, which is not up to snuff for me, because it would be usually a gay reading of this story, or it would just start off as, or the video would start off as a blank man in society. This is what it meant to me, and I'm like, I don't know you, and I kind of don't care. So for a while, I just kept not looking at anything related to it. But like I said earlier, there has been a video that caught the YouTube algorithm on my that found me on the YouTube algorithm, and I thought, okay, I'll give this a shot, and it just spoiled the entire thing for me, and that's when I was interested. That's when I had a better idea what this thing was about. You know what I'm saying? And all the twists and turns, and now I'm watching it just to see how the execution of it is. I think everybody reads or gets into a story in very different ways. I'm very much a person that doesn't like surprises when it comes to, or not doesn't like surprises, but more of I don't like having my time wasted. And I think that's just the a typical audience response. And I think that's what most of the people are when they indulge in media, really. And it's really through a very artist perspective that nobody really wants to have their thing spoiled. Everybody wants to wow the audience in their own little way. But nobody wants to be wowed. Like, you only get that privilege when people already know who you are, or you're in a position where people already care about what you make. But I'm rambling. That's just a rambling. That's just me yapping about nothing. But I think when I started reading it, I wanted to try out a first couple of pages, not pages, but chapters. But one thing that stuck out to me is that 20-page limit really feels like it's 20 pages. It doesn't stay longer than it needs to, and I feel like I even have a problem with that. I really like it when stories or chapters, they don't try to waste your time. And I feel like it's so far. I feel like I think I'm up to like chapter 25 right now, and there hasn't been a way for it to drag. You know, that's something that I like. That's something that I want to emulate when it comes to uh, when it comes to my writing. And speaking of writing, that makes me think about how that makes me think about the characters, honestly. And what's so interesting about it, I can't really name like more than 3 characters so far. I mean, I'm just straight up binge reading it, so not everything's gonna stick. But I do understand. But the way that my mind works is that I do understand the purpose of characters within the story over the names of them. I know some people. I remember I made a video forever ago talking about like a character design, like animal character designs, and how they're kind of boring to me for the most part, because it's just like animal heads on human bodies. and animal heads in human bodies. And I remember I got backlash for saying that because people say it helps them identify characters a lot easier. And everybody has their thing, absolutely. I'm a little bit older. I understand a little bit more things. Everybody still has their things, but to me, I remember characters based on their purpose in the story. I don't like. I'm pretty sure I'm not even alone on that one. But after that, but anyway, I think the one thing that kept me going is it's really great at setup and delivery, and the way that the characters are set up are it's very I wouldn't say basic, but I remember I saw a video that once you hear it explained, you can't really unsee it, and you see it in a lot of good stories, good writing, and that being what was it? And that being you have you have this you introduce the world, you introduce like the problem with the world, and you have everybody give their own perspective on it. The best way of doing expositions is having characters share their perspective. There, like there's little use of narration. It's there, but it's very limited. You just have the characters within a background characters, foreground characters. They talk about any kind of topic. They share their perspective on it, and they share their perspective on it. And I'm talking about the world specifically, but when it comes to characters, you have you have the introduction to the character usually by gossip, or you have and then you would go to the character in the character in question, talk about something that they like to do, like give them characterization, and that information dump of how the character thinks about themselves, or how other characters, or how the world, I should say, think about that one character in question. It does a lot when it comes to characterization to make a world feel pretty lived in, because everybody has an opinion on something. Or if they don't, or if they don't, you probably just wouldn't see them. They wouldn't be relevant to the plot, right? And I think the whole thing about I know like they introduce a whole bunch of characters, or they just have a lot of like characters in speaking roles. Um, that like speak I say speaking roles like it's a film. Um, give their opinions on the Goshi, Haru, and Lewis. I can't even remember anybody who's not them. I just don't remember their name. I know there's like that Tiger guy, but like I know because his name is Tiger Guy. I think it's Bill or something. I'm just like it is what it is. It is what it is. But the but like I understand everybody's purpose in the story because they have because like it's all connected within the plot line, the arc, and they have their own goals. Nobody that well, do they all have their own goals? No, they just have a plot line. They have a reason within the story. So I guess that's me rambling. If I think of something else, I will probably say it. It'll come up later. But one thing I kind of noticed about it was the art. I wasn't really crazy about the art either, but after I think chapter 8, it grew on me. And plus it gotten better because I noticed that there were assistants. Like you could tell when like the assistant stepped in, especially with the background work, because it just jumped in quality. It just jumped in quality. And one thing that I really took away from that, the way that the background work and the paneling work, is how it pays a lot of attention to what do they call it? The composition. The composition of every panel and the page as a whole. Because I noticed like one thing that I noticed that I really don't like about my own work is that how the paneling can feel super repetitive, and I don't feel that when I read that manga. if I can find a way to uh like switch up the style, switch up like the paneling to make it more visually appealing, at least for me, then that's something that I can improve upon for myself. Because right now I don't have anybody looking at. Well, I'm not gonna say I don't have anybody, but because that's holistic and just not true. But I don't hear a lot of complaints when it comes to my paneling, when it comes to a lot of the technical stuff with the art, because I'm just not at that level yet of notoriety to just have people talking about my works on like candidly, you know what I mean? But that's something that I find very interesting. But other than that, I don't know if I have no idea who's still watching. I decided to just talk about this thing for around like a while, like 10 minutes, just some initial thoughts, you know. I mean, I still fully intend to draw this for about like an hour or so. Yeah, it's in draw this for about an hour or so, and then probably just head off and do something else. No, it's very interesting how what really keeps me from enjoying something is just the type of audience that it attracts, you know? And if I find the audience annoying, wait, hold up. I need to find what the character looks like. I completely keep forgetting about what the models and whatnot. But one thing that I know a lot I there is an idea that goes out there saying that one shouldn't let other people dictate how a how you enjoy something. But it kind of matters. I feel like that's one that's like a psyop because I feel because my perception of it is humans have a sort of discernment when it comes to what kind of media attracts certain kinds of people, and you can tell, and like in these kind, and then people would make content about what sticks out to them, and I think that's what kept me from watching movies like Zootopia or other films that I just don't have an interest in, because like what I do usually when I have an interest in something, it's either I want to imitate some. I make a conscious decision of saying, "This is interesting to me. I want to imitate it. I want to imitate. Find something about this to imitate." And I think when it came to Beastars, what I really wanted to imitate from it was the world building. Because one thing that I'm pretty much a sucker. I won't say a sucker. I'm a sucker for world building. I wouldn't say that. It's more of if I'm doing something remotely similar, and I hear somebody say that X, Y, and Z especially excels in what I'm probably what's in the general area of what I'm trying to do, then there's a more likely chance of me looking into it, because I have a thing where sometimes I would just go to people or just ask on forums. I would show pictures of my comic, some panels, and I would ask, "What does this remind you of? Does this remind you of any art style?" And I do that because I'm looking to find, trying to see similarities of some of works that are better than mine. Therefore, I can just copy from it. And hold up, I'm trying to my mind. I cannot multitask. I'm trying to find a reference for this character. If you could just give me a second. Here we go. Because my mind goes like, is there anything that I can copy from it that I can make better? That I can something better than what I'm that's already been established. That always has done the heavy lifting of getting a general idea into the cultural zeitgeist, and that I can implement in my own works. I know, like the thing that I usually tell people is never try to be original. Honestly, and I think that's and I think knowing that there's nothing new under the sun is a virtue of not of I don't know. I think it's a virtue of like letting yourself be open to ideas that could make something better. And when I saw it in 2017, I don't think I haven't done any completely finished work with Chimera Island. It was just an idea that I've had for decades, but I just didn't know how to tell the pilot, get the first steps in the story. And every time that I saw something that's remotely similar to it, whoa, what is that? What happened? Crap. Oh, Stoplin, thanks for following. Um, and every time I saw something remotely like that, something similar to what I'm trying to do, right? I would just avoid it like the plague because I feel like I'm justified in that, right? In the sense of I don't know the heart and soul of what I'm trying to make yet. I don't know the identity. I don't know its identity of the story. And identities can change when it comes throughout making a story. Uh, but there is a difference between being inspired and just absolutely copy, like not having anything to say. I think that's what keeps me from another thing that keeps me from looking at a lot of popular stuff because people can say what something means to them, but the reason what I'm like, okay, that's cool, I don't care, is people tend to look for media that validates their existence, and that's uninteresting to me. I know that's probably like a hot take, but I'm just not interested in seeing media that validates one's existence or that tries to validate a point of view or anybody's reason to go on. If that's their thing, that's I don't speak on that because it's just not interesting to me. But as long as I find out like what's important, like what other people can take away from it, or what I can take away from it, it's it's a there is a value in that. I believe there's some value in that, and I think that's and I the more that I work on things and the more that I try to market my own stuff, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty funny because I start to understand a lot more because how I feel of making art for an uncaring audience is kind of how I relay my interest in other works. I'm like, it's just not interesting. Like give me a reason to care because when I try to sell my books to people in person, the one thing I notice is that people really don't want to care, and that's natural. We have like wanting to care about something new is time consuming. You're trying to invest time and effort into something that you don't know what it's gonna come from it, or if the person knows what they're trying to do, if it has something to say at the end of the day, and if the ending's great. Because the one thing that everybody likes to talk about is how is two things, right? How something ends and how the media or how the story made somebody feel, the journey of that story. And also, what's it trying to say? To me, it's most importantly the top tier between those things is what it's trying to say, or what it's trying to say. And I'm gonna sound a little bit hypocritical from this, but from the video that I saw, I cannot tell you verbatim what Beastars is wanting to say, for real. I think it's I cannot even try. I can't even attempt to find out what it says. What it was interesting to me were how these characters interact with the world that they are in, and if the world building it makes enough sense for it to even exist, or if the troubles of the characters make sense within their circumstances, right? Or yeah, and I think it plays off really really great. Honestly, I think it does that pretty well. But yeah, those were my initial thoughts. I'm probably gonna finish in like a week if I don't have my friends wanting to call me like constantly. Some days I'll just be alone and I'll just think, man, I should get into something today. And I think Beastars was that thing that got me interested. Also, also, this is one thing that I noticed because I don't think I felt like this in a while. It takes a certain kind of comic that gets me. I started reading it at 9 p.m. and I was up until 1 reading it. And one of the reasons, and I would have gone to bed sooner, but I was pretty amped about it. Something about it made me very amped to want to read that I needed to go to bed because I value sleep, but I wanted to read more. And what I usually do when my mind is having runaway thoughts, I just open up my journal and then I start writing. I start writing what I like about it. Why do I feel this way about it? Um, and why do I feel this way about it? And that doesn't. And it's not really only for things that I like. It's also goes to for things that I dislike. And when I write my ideas, I start trying to formulate. I try to formulate my feelings towards something, and more likely or not, I realize that if something gets me that amped, something just not real gets me that amped. There's something to it, and I really see something valuable in that story. Something valuable in the connections of it. And I think one of the things that I've written down was it's kind of is like the difference between this story and how this story talks about just prejudices and injustices in society, and how other stories talk about prejudice and like prejudices and justice. And this story, it's kind of funny how it's kind of funny how things there are injustices and prejudice between everybody, and everybody's like, okay, yeah, that's just how it is. Anyway, I'm moving on, and it's really funny to me because that's essentially how I write a lot of my characters, a lot of my predicaments that my characters find. They're like, whatever. It's like anybody who says, oh, it shouldn't be this way. It's like, well, it is. What are you gonna do? Change the world? And I think that's funny because I feel like it's very Disney. It's very like a Pixar Disney esque of one character trying to change society for everybody. But in reality, that's just not how the world works. That's just not how people are. It reminds me of when I showed the first day book of Purgatory Academy to my friend, and he was like, "This is kind of stupid. All these kids are in the hell, and the principal is Lucifer, and everybody's just doing what he says." It's like, why isn't anybody asking questions? Why is everybody just going along with it? And I showed it to my other friend, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this makes sense because oh wait, yeah, I was just trying to see if the camera's still on." And I showed it to my friend Matt, co-creator of Let's Go Metal Hero and co-creator of Let's Go Metal Hero and Just a Reaper. He says, "Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because that's how people are. People are just not fighters collectively. If somebody shows up and says I'm in charge now, like, do what I say. The majority of people, everybody's gonna be like, oh, okay, all right, like, I guess this is the program now. And it's I think stories that treats the characters like that treats sees their environment as I understand. I understand this is kind of how it is, and I have no problem with it. But I still got to do my own thing. That's way that's a that's way more interesting to me. That gives a lot of heart. You know, it gives a character. I think that gives that's way more interesting to me because it's more realistic than a character that wants to change the face of society because of X, Y, and Z. It's just lame to me. It's just like no. In the words of Nas, life's a bitch and then you die. So like, but that doesn't mean it has to be all suffering, you know? Yeah. Also, I think going on the identity, like the reason why I just not watch it due to identity crisis of, or not identity crisis, but trying to figure out the identity of my own works. It's it feels nice after I found the identity of what I'm trying to make, the finding the core message, the core themes of what I'm trying to make with this comic, Chimera Island, and uh, what I find with Beastars is that yeah, there are a lot of similarities with the world building, but I think the differences are more important or more interesting than the similarities because it makes me think of how art is one's reflection on the world or how the world is or how it should be, right? And I think it's like creating these stories are two different perspectives of what is equality is what are the dynamics between men and women, what are the dynamics between different types of people and the power dynamics of or just social or economic power dynamics within people and how everybody should interact or what is a virtue or what isn't, right? It's very interesting. Like I guess for one example is how Beastars in the world of Beastars, the world is just separated from people who eat meat and people who eat carnivores and herbivores, and that's one of the funniest things that I always find in like these kinds of animal media is it's usually seen through a perspective of oh yeah you have the haves and the have nots, you have like group A and group B, you have X, Y, and Z, right? And it's usually reserved from the strong people, the carnivores or like the hunters needing to hide their power levels to feel that so the prey can live piece by piece like peacefully beside them. And it's kind of funny because in when I the way that I set up my world, I kind of like just throw that away and say no. Everybody eats each other, and that's fine. Animals eat each other in the wild all the time. It's like I don't think just having like even humans they eat animals all the time. Like the eating meat doesn't change once people become self aware, right? I think a dog knows what it's eating. It just doesn't care because when it's hungry, it's hungry. And once we have the power or whatever to eat something else, we're still going to eat meat. You know, we're still going to eat what we crave, what we desire. But the only thing that prevents us from eating other things is either through religious reasons or social reasons, right? And the way that then I think the way that I kind of started off with the story of how people or how different walks of life interacts with each other. Everybody is on somewhat of an equal playing field of everybody can get it, but that doesn't mean that everybody is like at each other's throats because everybody has their own thing to do. Not only that, it's part of the religion that yeah, everybody eats each other and then they die, but their nutrients is gotta it's yada yada yada. I don't know, like I'm probably rambling. I don't know if anybody cares about that. It's whatever, but it's really goes within. It makes me really realize how much of an impact the culture of society, and I say it's like a pretty much and I say like religion is a very important part of like how a society operates. Like what are their beliefs, right? I think it's very postmodern to just have a society without a religion or without a certain reason why beliefs are there. I know in the story I watched a recap that completely spoiled everything for me, and he kind of went into a little bit of detail of why things are the way that they are, and that's great. That's amazing. But like I said, the differences, but like understanding the differences of what you're trying to do and your contemporaries, I should say, yeah, the contemporaries is a better word, is paramount to at least have your own voice when you commentate on such issues. I know this would probably get a lot more views or whatever if I was just if this was a better presentation, had better presentation, had like all the zoomer editing and all the iFunny gifs. But no. I it's I shoot myself on the foot on purpose because I kind of just want to be a comic guy before I want to be a YouTuber, to be honest. You know? It is what it is, though. It is what it is. I don't know, like, I don't know if anybody's gonna watch this like a month or a year or like a decade after this been has been a uploaded. You know, I don't see how long is it. Okay, half an hour. Cool. I don't know how long is until like this been uploaded, but hey, this is a documentary of I don't know what I should call this a mangaka's first an mangaka's perspective of Beastars, which is also pretty funny. It's yeah, I think I've gone through the specifics of how I want to call myself, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's it's very interesting. It's very interesting. But that makes me think of whether actually no. It's been 30 minutes. I think I'll just close it off to keep everybody's attention because I know for a fact ain't nobody cares about me creating a comic, the cover of a comic that nobody's ever heard about. So yeah, if YouTube shoved this into your whatchamacallit, your recommended, and if you just shoved this in your recommended and you watch this far, I appreciate it. Um, I don't know, so, like this video or something like that. I appreciate it. Anyway, ain't nobody turned out turned out to his live stream, and that's cool. That's all right. That's all right.